All right, Dimitrios Gavriel, the Gandalf of the Lance Corporal Underground. There isn't any one story I think I could find in my memory banks about Demetrius that was necessarily a standout. Um, it was more just his general demeanor uh, that was just so adorable and outstanding. So, um, for those who don't know, Dimitrios Gavriel, he worked in Manhattan, and this is a man that had tattoos, hash marks on his arm for friends that he lost that were in the World Trade Center when they came down. And this man joined out of patriotic duty and love for country and love for his fellow man, and he lived his life out in that manner. Um, and it was an amazing thing to behold. So the reason why I call him the the Gandalf of the Lance Corporal Underground is because I would watch this man alchemate things. All right, here's what I mean by that. Um, if you're a Lance Corporal in the United States Marine Corps Infantry, okay, it's very, very difficult to understand something like corporate punishment, for example. This is one of many things that he would constantly be dealing with his his peers. Okay, and I use that term very loosely because I mean that in rank only. Okay, Demetrius was very much an accomplished man before he ever joined the Marine Corps. So he had a lot of life wisdom that he was always, I'd even say, eager to share with the people who were his rank peer, but in life, because he knew so much more than they did, he would typically be like a counselor or a therapist to them. So it was not uncommon to see Demetrius, when we would do something where, the platoon was supposed to, I don't know, field day inspection or something along those lines, a uniform inspection that they didn't perform well on. So then we would punish the whole platoon because a few people didn't perform like they should. They didn't do what they should do. And then, you'd see Demetrius over there talking to somebody who's just really angry about something. And, he'd have a very pleasant demeanor on his face, and he wasn't like mocking them or anything, but he would like be smiling. And by the time he was done, after a few minutes of talking to him, you'd see them kind of laughing about it. And you could tell that he helped them move past something. And then that Lance Corporal or that PFC would get up and move on, and another Lance Corporal or PFC would sit down, all angry and distraught about something, and Demetrius would be like, "Okay," pull out the pen pad and and start taking notes again, figuratively speaking. But he was always like their counselor, and he had actually gotten to the point where he was such a trusted advisor for me. Anyway, I don't know about the other guys, but for me in particular, where he would pull me aside regularly and say, "Hey, so and so is dealing with something pretty hard right now. You might want to talk to them." Or, "Hey, when we did this thing, you said this thing and it didn't land well, man. Like you're losing the guys because they don't understand why you're doing what you're doing." And anybody who was underneath me. That happened frequently, where I was always off on some left field stuff, and I was always like, I always came around, and it always made sense in the end. But in the moment, when I'm making them, I don't know, sweep their floor with their hands, not a broom, because I didn't want there to be any grit left on the floor. Like for a Lance Corporal, a 19-year-old kid, it's a very difficult thing to understand. But a guy like Demetrius would sit down and he'd be like, "No, like understand that this is about attention to detail," and he would alchemize these things and just kind of emotionally heal the guys in the moment, just over and over and over again. And I absolutely loved that about him. Um, so, so for that, Demetrius, you have earned the title, the nickname, or what I would call Gandalf of the Lance Corporal Underground. You are always the grand, wise old man who is there to console your fellow man and your fellow warrior, your brother, and help them through those hard times and bring them around those corners. And dude, I miss you, man. I miss you to death. All right, bro.